Hello and welcome to the Superposition Guys podcast. My name is Yuval, and my guest today is Max Sich, co-founder and CEO of Aegiq, a quantum photonics company. Max and I talk about their first product, a single-photon source, and its potential applications, their business model, the impact of governments in quantum beyond funding, and much more. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, Max, and thanks for joining me today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Max. I'm CEO and co-founder of Aegiq, and at Aegiq we are accelerating adoption of quantum technologies, and we do so with bringing the most scalable stuff that's out there, primarily photonics, and we help people find synergies there with their existing business and communications, computing, and sensing.
How did Aegiq, the name, come about? I'm curious.
We were running an internal competition, and the task was to name a company starting letter A, so it's always at the top of the list. It also comes from the word aegis, which reflects on the security aspect of our approach.
Perfect. So is Aegiq you said helping companies, leverage quantum. You're not a consulting company, right? You're a product company, I believe.
That is true, but you need to help people use things as well. So if you're a commodity company, you make user manuals and then hope people read them. If you're a quantum company, you have to take a lot more care about it, and it's also a discovery process for us and for people. So different products, different services, they are at different stages of understanding by people and users, and so they require different approaches.
Excellent. And what is the product that you're developing?
So we're building a suite of tools and building blocks for just various quantum applications with photonics primarily. So the first thing that we're doing is deterministic single-photon sources, but also ways to manipulate light and turn it into more sensible systems, such as communication, for example. So it's basically a key thing, kind of linchpin to build any quantum links of and exchange any quantum information.
You mentioned single photon source. I guess the name implies that it's a device that can emit a single photon. But why is that a good thing? What is that used for, and what's so special about that single photon?
Because it's quantum. Quantum 2.0, or whichever way we call that, is anything to do with a single atom, with a single photon, with a single spin, with a single electron, anything. So you need to have that entity at your hand and control it in order to leverage any quantum theory to your benefit in terms of building in technology. So having a single photon source means you can, and it's controllable, so it's deterministic. So we know when we have it, and we know when we don't have it in advance. So that allows you to build, a range of applications, really. And you can build entanglement with this, you can build floating pair sources, again, deterministic, or build larger states as well. So take a proper quantum.
Let's try to dive into some of these so I get a better understanding. Let's, for instance, talk about key distribution. Why would a single photon source be good for key distribution as opposed to isn't more better? I mean, if I had more photons, would that be a better key distribution?
When I talk about this, I say exactly the opposite. Less is more. So you encode. It's the same with quantum computers, right? So is it not better to have more electrons inside a computer? Well, it turns out not exactly, because you don't exploit the quantum properties, and that's the ultimate thing. So having a single photon opens you a door to entanglement, controlling entanglement, and therefore really building that capability. So that's like in a generic terms. And then if you look in specific implementations, say, for example, the best comparison maybe is between the most basic quantum key distribution protocols, such as BB84, and it's been widely implemented using techniques such as weak coherent pulse. So you kind of take the laser pulse, you filter it down to low numbers, and then it turns out that it doesn't work as you want because it has different statistical distribution. So you have to play tricks, build decoy states, and hide the fact that it's not a true single photon. So you lose a lot of bandwidth just because it's not real.
So a single photon in key distribution, is that just to ensure that if someone eavesdrops, then basically they take your photon away and it doesn't get to the other side? Is
Part
that
of
the
it.
thing?
It's part of it, of course. And that's ultimately like the theoretical background to it. So the closer you can get to a true single photon, like there's nothing else, no other noise, the better your system is.
In terms of hardware, first, where are you in the process? How large is the company? How do you have funding? Does the product exist yet? Fill me in there if you could.
So we started in 2019, end of 2019. To date, we've got our seed round funding through with some really good venture capital firms. We're really focusing on deep tech. We've also received, by now, we've got 5 UK government grants where we collaborate with others on R&D projects. And that was to great benefit because we could grow our team, which is now quite substantial for our age and size and the stage. Also, it unlocked us a lot of the supply chain for us and also end user engagement as well to kind of develop technology. And there's been hardware. It's expensive if you want to build all yourselves. So we require foundry services. We require other services to ensure that we can put it together. And I think we're gearing towards the end of this year for something. Um, I'm not gonna spoil the moment, but I'm just saying that there will be something.
In a single photon source, how large is the device? Is that tiny? Is that a fridge? What's the physical size of a device that generates a single photon?
So the device itself is based on something called quantum dots. So it's a tiny lump of atoms inside a semiconductor structure. It's tiny on its own. Now, to operate it, you do need to cool it down. So we're currently talking about like a tabletop boxes or like rack mountable unit that has all of it. So control, drive, readout. I mean, readout, you have it in the fiber. Um, but altogether, it's not a fridge of the size of a building, but it's not the size of a smartphone either. So somewhere in the middle.
And the business model is to sell these components so they're embedded into someone else's product, whether it's for computing or communication, or is the business model different?
The business model is to help people use quantum things, and so these things are helpful for primarily actually for people who do research in quantum information science. So we're helping them do better science. But we're also, developing other systems that help people solve more complex problems and help them and build better businesses overall. So I cannot talk much about these right now, but these are also things that are happening. This is the premise. So I think for us, it's enabling that and making it better, not specifically focused on a particular product. But single photon sources are really a unique thing, apart from other things that we have, where we started. That is a thing that people really, really, really need to build large scale applications in a lot of cases.
If your technology can be used both for computing and communications and sensing, and I'm assuming you've started speaking with some early customers about that, what's your take on which of these markets is going to take off first? There's been a lot of hype about computing, but is it really going to be the sensing or communication that's going to lead in the near term?
It's I wouldn't break it down in this particular way. I would rather break it down into the scale of systems or the scope of systems. And things that going to pick up first are smaller isolated systems that have a limited interface into our digital infrastructure. And that's already happening. You see some sensors being deployed. There's some experimental quantum computers available in the cloud, or you can buy them. Same as with communication systems. Again, it's isolated links that operate for a particular purpose in some niche applications. And that is the first stage. So they do happen, in fact, simultaneously, and they help each other. So it's not like that. One is sitting there and then the other is like booming. And the next stage will be, or the second generation is like when we start seeing global systems, but still isolated. That's when it gets bigger. You're moving away from high value manufacturing slowly into the mass production, until we reach the quantum internet, where it's just like mass production and a very well established technological set. So in that sense, I would say that that's the way we approach or view it. Computing probably relies more on a particular breakthrough, so it's less sort of linear in development, whilst say communications and sensing are probably a little bit more easier to anticipate in terms of how they develop. But I think that's roughly they follow the same path.
And some say that perhaps a reason that sensors could take off sooner is that they don't require very many qubits or very many components. You could build a very useful sensor, unlike a quantum computer where you say, oh, I need thousands or hundreds of thousands of qubits to do something that I couldn't do today in a meaningful way. Then you need a whole lot less for sensors. Would that be an accurate statement?
To some extent, but then again, it's within the remit of a small isolated system. So you just make an improvement towards a particular sensing technology, but you haven't changed the way you deploy the sensors. You haven't changed the way you read out, process information, and so it's just a little taster of what it could be. Same as communication, for example. You can build a very secure link right now. QKD is working. There's a number of systems out there that are being deployed. That doesn't mean that that's the way it will be like scaled exactly into a next generation of technologies.
Is there a significant software component to the products that you're building, or is it primarily hardware?
So we're building ground up. So a lot of our current focus is on key hardware blocks that enable, but software is increasingly a larger chunk of the work that's being done. I mean, you inevitably have to build interfaces with digital infrastructure that we have, processes that we have, and human interfaces. So that is a huge amount of work as well.
In terms of the people that work at Aegiq or the people that you're hiring, do you feel they need to come from substantial quantum backgrounds or just good software engineers, good hardware engineers, good physicists, optical
It,
engineers, and so on?
it's a mix. I think we really like to see a mix of experiences and cultures. Primarily, so we do need to have a core of people who really have deep understanding of quantum physics, of quantum theory, quantum mechanics, quantum information theory. But at the same time, there's a lot of work that needs more conventional, so to say, skill set. And yeah, so we need engineers on optoelectronics, optomechanics, just electronics and software, as simple as Python. But not that Python is too simple if you get into complicated.
How do you see the role of government in developing quantum technology, other than funding and providing grants to businesses like yours and others? Do you see that whether governments have to play a bigger role or a different role than just funding?
They, apart from stimulating and recognizing the fact that quantum is a set of quantum technologies in general, it just underpins the future for the countries in the next, say, couple of decades for sure. And they want to have that hold of the technological side overall. That's their primary motivation, really. So they want to lead the pack of their in the framework of countries. So they drag everybody in and they put this money on the table to help drive it. The other important aspect, which quite often gets maybe overlooked a little bit at this stage, is the regulation, because it's not there right now, but it's coming. It will always be there, and quantum has got a chance of being less regulated, or it has a risk of being more regulated. And that is probably the very important role of the governments that will always be there, irrespective to funding, to procurement contracts, or anything of that sort, as regulation or requirement for people to, for example, use quantum as a government contracting of some sort. So it's indirect, but super important. And this is where a lot of care needs to be taken by the governments and by the governments that that relationship between countries as well. Because for businesses, it's also critical that there is good liquidity in capital, talent, technology, intellectual property. If it's not there, we are all a little bit slower in development.
As we get close to the end of our discussion today, I'm curious about your personal journey. How did you become CEO of a quantum company? Where did you come from academically and so on? What was your path to where you are today?
So I'm a quantum physicist by training, experimental quantum physicist. Also did a degree in economics and finance. So I always was inspired somewhat by the entrepreneurship and the challenges. Um, so at some point, I just felt it was a great time to do it. So to switch on and start building something greater than just awesome science that we were doing. And so this is how it started. And then I called my friends who are my co-founders now. So and we pulled through a lot of hard times together. So you always read like team is important, like everybody says that. Uh, but I cannot just say more to say that how important it is.
Excellent. So, Max, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about your work?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so I'm regularly checking my inbox there. So that's the easiest way to reach me. So check our website. Some ways to get in touch there as well.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much for a very interesting chat, and I hope everybody enjoys it.